So a couple of days ago, I made a video on the achievement Nick of Time, where you have to finish a simulated universe run with a countdown value of 80 or more. In that video, I said that the achievement was far too hard and that it's just simply not worth grinding for. Well, it seems a couple of people on the StarDB Discord took that personally and said, "We'll show this idiot. He clearly underestimates what kind of no-life degenerate I am." And so, within the span of 1 week, we went from a single person with the achievement to 8. So I figured I can't just sit here making guides on achievements only to tell people not to bother because the achievement is far too hard. So here it is, my Abundance 92 countdown run. So the strategy to getting a successful Nick of Time run is still mostly the same as what I spoke about in my last video, with the idea that you need to propagate mercies throughout the field in Plane 2 and then farm up the countdown points with benevolence dice rolls. Well, since then we have figured out a couple more optimal plays that can help maximize the countdown gain, along with simply sharper game plans just so that we know exactly when we should or shouldn't bail on a run, making for smoother grinds overall. So let's start the video with what a perfect Plane 1 run would look like, and then we can kind of scale that back and discuss what's more realistic and worth keeping, and when you should just pull the plug and start again. So in terms of your opening, I always go for curios, with the best possible curio to get being the bearded gunpowder, which gives you 1 cheat, as cheats are just hands down the most valuable thing you can get within your runs. The second best item you can get here is the Tooth, which grants you 4 additional rerolls, which can also be an absolute lifesaver if you've got a little bit of luck on your side. So your opening Mercy tile placement and the first few die rolls are quite important here, as your aim is not to step on a single non-Mercy tile in Plane 1. Losing 3 countdown this early in the game is simply not worth it, and I would simply re-roll if I was ever forced to step on one, as it was still quite early and you haven't wasted too much time. So you can see in this run, I got quite lucky with both my Mercy tiles appearing right next to my starting tile, which means that I knew that I could get 2 scuffed die rolls at the very least. My first one gave me a random Mercy tile, which isn't too terrible but didn't really do much to extend my pathing at this point. My second die roll on the next tile, however, was the best possible roll you could hope for. The prescription die, which creates mercy tiles adjacent to where you move, is an absolute god roll here, as not only was I stepping over to an existing mercy tile, it propagated 3 additional mercy tiles for me, which allowed me to bridge over to my other mercy tile. It also propagated in such a way that I was now able to zigzag all the way there, which gave me enough breathing room for 3 additional turns. Up next was a benevolence roll, which is straight up just free countdown at this point, since I was safe for the next 3 turns. So it was a welcome boost of 4 points, bringing me to a total of 22 after my next move. So now I'm still safe for 2 turns, so I didn't mind too much what I rolled, but thankfully I was given a random mercy tile right on top of the boss. This is great because I know that I'm guaranteed to step there, so it wasn't a wasted roll. So this is the point where I started to worry about my bridge. I know that I'm safe for 1 more turn, but the dice I rolled here was literally the worst die you could roll, as it gave you nothing at all in terms of mercy. So here I opted to use one of my rerolls just to see if I could finish strong. Unfortunately, it was a benevolence, which only gave me 2 points, and that was at the cost of a reroll that I really didn't need to do. Thankfully, however, my next die roll did give me a mercy die, which lets me select a tile to place a mercy on. My options here were a transaction or a reward. So when presented with this option, transactions can be good because you have the chance of purchasing a cheat curio or a reroll curio. However, I had already started the run with a cheat curio, so the value proposition of a transaction was not as high as a reward, as reward tiles do have the chance of giving you a pixel world, which gives you an additional cheat. And of course, as this is a showcase of a perfect run, what else do we get but a pixel world? So that's 1 more cheat, bringing me to a total of 3 cheats and 1 reroll. So, I mean, that's what a pretty much perfect Plane 1 opener looks like. 1 cheat at the start, another cheat mid-run, mercy tiles the entire way, with even a mid-run benevolence for 3 points. But that's not going to happen all the time. Honestly, for a Plane 1 run, as long as you don't step on a single non-mercy tile, and you don't spend any of your cheats or any of your rerolls, I would chalk that up to a win. Even if you walk mostly in a straight line from start to finish and get roughly a 5 countdown gain, that gets you to Plane 2 with 20, and that's pretty decent. Ideally, you would also try to get yourself 1 additional cheat either from the starting curio or from an occurrence or a transaction along the way, as this is going to help you immensely with your opener in Plane 2. Anyway, you'll be happy to hear that even with this god tier Plane 1 opener, I still actually failed this run, as I just had a random swarm spawn that wiped out my mercy field. So hey, that's a fun thing that can happen to you too. Such a fun achievement, thanks miHoYo. So now instead I'm going to jump over to my other footage from my next run. Here I didn't do as well as my perfect opener shown previously. I didn't get a cheat curio from the start, but I did get a reroll curio. So I'm starting plane 2 with 23 countdown, 1 cheat and 6 rerolls. You can see here, however, that what I did have going for me is that I got the best possible plane 2 map. So there are many different map shapes out there, but this one is simply the best due to the fact that it's wide open and has no gaps. This allows your mercy fields to propagate freely. My starting mercy tiles are also pretty decent as you want them far away from your starting area, but also not too close to each other. This is because when you move from left to right, your tiles will start collapsing, so you want to make sure that the mercy propagation is coming from the right, allowing it time to build. So when it comes to the plane 2 opener, it's always going to be the same no matter what. The first die that you will always want to get is going to be a prescription die to create mercy tiles adjacent to where you move. This will cause you to lose 3 points, but if done right, it should grant you 3 mercy tiles, which means that you can zigzag twice, covering you for the next 2 moves. If you instead go for a sustenance die, the gold die, you're only going to be generating 2 mercy tiles, one next to each existing mercy, but you're also not generating anything next to you, forcing you to lose 3 points for the next 2 or even 3 moves. That's just far too big of a point hit to cop at this point in time. So here you can see me kind of umming and ahhing about where I want to place my 3 mercy tiles. In the end, I opted to go down the bottom as I already had an existing mercy tile up top which could potentially expand, so instead I left it alone, went down low with the plan to hit both occurrences and the reward along the way. So now that you have 2 safe tiles to step on, your next 2 die rolls will have to be the gold dies, also known as sustenance dies. The aim here is to start the propagation with the hopes that it also bridges over to your position. Here I used 2 rerolls to try to get a sustenance die to no avail, so this is where I kind of realized that there's no point in saving my cheat, as if I didn't get a sustenance here, my run was already over. So instead of wasting more rerolls, I pop the cheat and I get my sustenance. So at this point, my mercy propagation is looking pretty good, but my cheats and rerolls are looking pretty dire. My only hope now is that I run into another Pixel World or a Ruin May just for some more cheats. I needed another sustenance here, otherwise this run was over, and thankfully I managed to get it, albeit with 2 rerolls, leaving me with a single reroll. So that there is the optimal plane 2 opener, 1 prescription and 2 sustenance. Ideally you want to get to this point naturally without the use of cheats or rerolls, as you would still want to have at least 2 cheats and a couple of rerolls in order to build your points now, but as you can see I'm in a pretty bad spot. Thankfully though, the Aeons are with me on this run and it's given me exactly what I needed. A benevolence die which gives me 1 countdown for every mercy tile on the field. This gives me a huge injection of countdown, bringing me from 22 to 35. So I would have been happy with either a sustenance here for more mercy propagation or a benevolence here, so this was great. My run is still looking dire, but I've got 2 things going on for me right now. One was the off chance that I could somehow get God rolls every single tile from here on out to secure me the win, but 2 was the fact that I can see every reward tile not too far off of me, which means that there is a chance that I could get a Pixel World for a cheat, or even better, a Ruin May Chapter 2 for 10 cheats. And what do you know, another benevolence, let's go! So once again, exactly what I wanted without needing to reroll. And so we move on to the reward tile. And this is where my heart stops, because when you get a question mark portrait like this, it means that this is an occurrence that you've yet to receive. And I knew for a fact that I had not seen a Ruin May Chapter 2 yet. And there she was. It was at this point that I knew that I had it in the bag. 10 cheats guarantees 10 benevolence dies in a row, which easily brings me over the 80 countdown that I needed. So, for those of you wondering, Ruin May can spawn on both occurrences and reward tiles. It's just that the chances will be far greater in a reward, as the pool of possible results is a lot smaller compared to occurrences. So if given the option, always pick reward over occurrence. So here I just did a little bit of maths to calculate whether or not I would get more points from picking another sustenance to propagate my mercies, and I found that depending on how lucky I was with the spread, it was actually going to give me more, so I opted for the sustenance. The optimal spread here was going to be 5, but instead I got 4, so not the best, but I wasn't complaining. From here on out, it's pretty much just my victory lap. With 10 cheats, we had it in the bag. I continued to pop cheats to get benevolence rolls to give me 1 countdown for every existing mercy tile, while calculating how many moves I had left based on how many cheats I had left. Because plane 3 is always going to be the same layout, the shortest path is going to be 3 moves, while the longest path is going to be 5 moves. Plane 3 has no mercy tiles from the start, so you can't even get lucky with initial mercy placements, and sustenance propagations won't work there. So at the very least, I needed to get to plane 3 with 3 cheats left. The worst thing you can do here is miscalculate and go into plane 3 with no cheats, screw up all your rolls and then lose 9 countdown. So let's talk a little bit about plane 3. Realistically, you should know well before this point whether or not you have a shot at getting the achievement. The worst possible position for you to be in here, but still win with a chance, is starting plane 3 on 75 countdown with no cheats or rerolls. So it's going to be dire, but it's still going to be possible as long as you get 5 mercy dies in a row. As mentioned previously, plane 3 has no starting mercy tiles, so you really only have one option, and that is to use mercy dies to place mercy tiles to build your bridge to the boss. Every tile that you step on here will be -3, so there's no move that will get you more points than simply beelining it to the boss. Here, I start plane 3 with the optimal 5 cheats, meaning that I'm able to take the longest possible route, securing me the full 5 points. And so yes, that's the run. And yes, I understand securing Rune Mei on a run is entirely luck based, but outside of getting back-to-back god rolls, that's probably going to be your best shot at actually securing this achievement. I hope the tips that I gave here is enough for you to get some decent openers when grinding for this achievement. If you want to learn more about the achievement, check out stardb.gg or come visit us on the StarDB Discord server, where there's hundreds of other no-life degenerate achievement hunters grinding for this achievement as we speak.